pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We pray. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for the beautiful day that you have blessed us with. We thank you for the night of rest and for the opportunity to come together as a Rotary Club here in this community to discuss, to plan, and to prepare for the future as we celebrate this community and the work that Rotary is all about as we love our brothers and sisters throughout the world. Lord, bless this club now as we gather, and we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning.
I do have a couple of announcements. First, Richard, Jake's food, so be sure to get them all up there. We'll get that covered. All right, the other announcement, extremely important. Then I'll ask Steve to introduce his guests, and we will have the program based on Donald handling that too.
Good morning, Wayne.
No fines. Good morning, Steve. Now, don't say anymore. No fines today because we're off campus from the regular meeting. And Donald made it. We didn't sound the gospel in time, but he was 3 minutes late. We won't fine him. So no fines today. We'll just have the program. Free ride.
Sir,
all right, Steve.
Is it true that ISIS abducted our security officer?
Don't know, but he's gone. He's missing. Hey, Steve, would you be kind enough?
Yes, I will. My guest this morning is Roger Irvin, our HR Director at Catawba Valley Community College, Dr. Ryan McCreary, who will do our program this morning, and Mark Story, who is Director of our K64 initiative at Catawba Valley Community College.
Who has not gotten a bio set? Phil? Joe? Wayne? Here, Wayne.
Okay, you sir. Me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's pushing.
I think better Wayne.
I thought you had a pencil. They're playing.
Sure.
More like a rocket.
He's got one, Phil.
I got it. I have one. Okay, who's gonna introduce our speaker today?
He just did.
I just did.
Okay. Then have that in the speaker. I'm thinking, he's standing there, I'm wondering, you know.
Right? As they say in vaudeville, you're on.
Yeah, you're standing there, and I'm just wondering, you know, why isn't he moving? So, you gotta tell your people when you introduce them that they need to go to the meeting.
Well, we all have a bio on.
Yes.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Appreciate you having us here today.
Thank you.
I am Mark Story. I'm with K64, CEO of K64. We're going to tell you a little bit about this to see if you can understand it. It's big and it's different for everyone to explain it to. How many of you have heard of K64? Anyone?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's good. That's
Other than the name, no.
K64 stands for Kindergarten Through Retirement. We started to do K80 because we figure we're all going to have to work until about 80. That's where we came up with the name K64. And K64 is a public-private partnership. We actually started researching this in 2016. It's a group of people through the K-12 education, the business world, the community college, the county commissioners, and a lot of stakeholders around the county. The county commissioners decided to make this part of their strategic plan and launched this thing back in 2017. And I came on board in probably October of last year. We actually worked with this probably since 2012 when we were trying to figure out how to do this. So what it is a public-private partnership. The commissioners will give me $1 for every dollar that I can raise from private industry. And they've committed up to $1.3 million a year. And what we're trying to do is to make our community different than other communities. Right now we have a crisis in the whole United States with a lack of people to fill jobs. We have a declining workforce and we have rising numbers in terms of what we need to fill these jobs. So with what we're trying to do with K64, it's basically using education as economic development, trying to make ourselves different. We actually are housed at community college. The reason that we're through the Catawba Valley Community College is because we're kind of the central hub for all the partners that are involved in terms of education. We work with Hickory City Schools, Catawba County Schools, Minnesota Schools, Lenore University, the Chamber, the EDC, the county commissioners, you name it, everybody that's in the community in terms of even the Boy Scouts and the YMCA, everyone's working with us, and we're hubbed out of the community college. And the community college is the one central place in terms of education that is pretty well equal access to everyone. So what we're trying to do is to look at the things that work really well in the community in terms of education and actually try to make that accessible to everyone. It's all about accessibility and making it to where all of our students have equal access. If you look at the statistics right now, 47% of the graduates, step out of the way so I can read this, are actually meeting, 47% of our graduates did not meet the ACT requirements to go to college. And that's big. That's almost half of our students right now are not even qualifying. And this is not just Catawba County, this is North Carolina. 27% of the career technical education, which is the old vocational education students, they're actually not career ready, certified. 24% of Army applicants are not eligible based on the scores they take on the Army entrance test. 87% of ninth graders actually complete high school on time, which is actually kind of low. So what we have found is there is a disconnect. One thing that really makes a big difference in whether or not students succeed and students excel in terms of academics is whether or not the learning is relevant. Is it really relevant to jobs and skills and efforts that are needed to get into the workforce? So part of K64 is we have a lot of business partners, and they're coming to us to help us redesign the curriculum and to change the way we deliver content into the classroom so that the students take a particular class in math, that it applies to a local job and something that makes sense. And we're starting to see kids take more interest in subjects and understanding how this applies to a future here in Catawba County. Educational attainment is a big deal. What they have identified through the research that most of the jobs that we have in the next 10 to 15 years are going to require associate's degree because they're looking at specific skilled jobs. And if you look at associate's degree, which is actually the third one over here, only 10% of our students are getting that. The bulk of our students are stopping at high school, and then we have a bulk getting a bachelor's degree. And what we're finding with the bachelor's degree is a lot of the students are underemployed. They're getting degrees and they're getting college debt that will not lead to a job. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that we develop local pathways that students can get on and get two careers, and they can get to the jobs here in our community, and they can go as far with those jobs as they want to go. They can, decide they want to be a welder, a maintenance tech, or an engineer. It's not one way or the other like it used to be. It's all one pathway with multiple on and off ramps. So the purpose of this is to engage students and to make people want to come to Catawba County and stay in Catawba County. One big issue across our state is the bulk of our population. Since 2008, you look right there, 20% of our total population now live in Mecklenburg and Wake County in the whole state. And what's happening is students are leaving to go to college and they never come back. And it's not Catawba County only, it's everywhere. It's brain drain across our entire state. So much so that there's commissions formed. We've got the McCreary NC Commission. We're working with the governor and legislation to figure out how we can fix this problem. And one way to fix this problem is connect the students early through initiatives like K64. And to get those students to understand that there are great opportunities here and connect them with businesses and connect them with mentors that teach them, Catawba County's great. We have a lot of folks that come back to Catawba County eventually once they get out and figure out this is a great place to be and raise a family. But they feel like that there's not opportunity here, and most of the time it's because they're just uninformed. So part of what we're doing is trying to make sure that these folks understand about these opportunities early on, and we stay with them before they leave and don't come back. Catawba County is going to have a net loss of 1,100 employable workers between 18 and 64 by 2035. On top of that, our current companies are going to add 10,000 new jobs in our community. So that means we're in pretty bad shape in terms of being able to fill jobs. We are at unemployment rate of, I think, 3.7% is the last number that I heard. So even right now, we don't have enough people to fill the jobs that are available. So we've really created K64 as a strategic initiative to come together and to keep people here and to attract people here to fill these jobs. And also attract businesses here. We've had businesses that's recently moved in just because of what we've been able to do with K64 and show them that we can train a workforce and that there are opportunities for their own children to come here. So that's part of what we're doing. We are based on 6 guiding principles. And I put this together a long time ago to get folks to kind of understand what we're trying to do. But we start out with one-to-world technology. And what that means is every child has a device that they have until they graduate. That's our goal. We start in elementary school, give them a device that they can use until they graduate high school. The purpose behind that is not about the device itself. It's about access. It's about being able to remove the time and space from the classroom, to give students access to quality teachers. If we have a teacher that's on one side of the county that's teaching computer science, that's an unbelievable teacher, these students can actually be on the other side of the county and access that teacher with that device. It also gives the students the ability to take college courses early. We have a program at community college called McCreary College Promise, which is free college courses, free tuition to any junior and senior in the state of North Carolina. That's transferable credit to the university. So there's absolutely no reason the students can't get the first 2 years of their college completed at no cost before they graduate high school. But in order to do that, they need to be able to have a device that they can access those things online. We did the middle schools last 2 years. As of this year, we've got 6th, 7th, and 8th graders across the entire county that have a device. To give you the idea of the scope of that, that's about, I think it's 5,800 devices, $1.5 million just to do the middle schools.
What devices are these?
We are using Chromebooks. The reason we're using Chromebooks, is anyone familiar with what a Chromebook is? Chromebook is a cloud-based computer, very inexpensive. And when I actually started looking into this with a bunch of us looked into it in terms of what we wanted to do, I put up my computer and I carried a Chromebook for about 6 months. And it actually will do about 99% of everything I want to do. It actually can work offline and online, and it's very controllable, which is we can control the internet and the access when the students take the devices home. We can control exactly what they can and can't get to. So it's been the optimal device for what we need to do. And they actually are using this across the country now in most of the educational settings just because of the ability to control and the cost. You're looking at those at about $258 a piece. So that's substantially cheaper than a standard laptop. So the teacher technology training. When you roll out devices to students, the #1 reason that those programs fail is because teachers do not understand how to utilize these devices in the classroom. So we've spent $200,000 so far training all of the teachers in these grade levels to understand that these devices are not just replacements for something they're doing. They're supplements. They're teaching the teachers how to do personalized learning. So the students that are high flyers, they can take this device and go on, and they can get deeper into the content. And the students that are a little behind, they can give them supplementary work and let them work at their own pace. So it's had a significant impact on teaching and learning in the classroom already. We found that after we rolled these devices out that over 22% of our students in the county had no device of any kind at home. Nothing. So how do we expect those students to be able to keep up with that? So this is really balancing that out. We actually have seen behavior improvements, attendance improvements. We can actually remotely cut these devices off and make them non-functional. So we had a student in elementary school, actually we've had 3 now that I've been told about, that the parents quit bringing them to school, just didn't come. You know, they strung out on drugs, whatever it is. The student's gone for about 10 days. We remotely turn that device off. The student comes back to school the next day. That one was using the device and needed it. So that's something we didn't expect, that we're able to get students to come and engage just because of these devices. So it's been really an eye-opener. The teachers have a better perception of what the classroom looks like. The students have a better perception. The scheduling has got more flexible because now students don't have to be in a particular room to access technology or access a particular teacher. We can actually put students in a classroom across the county using this device. So it's been a big impact so far, and we've just done the middle schools. So the next piece is character education. We go to businesses, the first thing they tell me, whether it's hospitals or whether it's an electrical company, whatever it is, if you can give me someone that can show up on time and get along with other people and do what they're supposed to do, we'll teach them how to be a nuclear physicist. I mean, that's just how hard it is to find people with the soft skills of character. And students are just not getting this at home like they used to. You know, I used to get beat if I didn't act like I had some sense when I was growing up. So you just don't see that anymore at home. So we are trying to build out character programs at all levels and soft skill programs at all levels to get students to understand what it means to be a good employee and a good person and a good friend and a good community member. And we're starting early because that's not something you can get people to understand, you know, the senior year in high school. So we're starting with kindergartners and we're working our way up through there. The employer engagement. I mentioned before, the employers are driving what we're doing. We're getting input from them about what to teach and what they need in terms of workforce, and we're getting it from every field. We're also getting those employers to invest in K64. As I said before, we don't have any money unless I get businesses to invest. Last year we got about $2.1 million in the community. This year I've got to raise another $2.6 million. All of that money goes directly back into our students, directly back into these programs. Another advantage of what K64 does for us is there's no strings attached with like state and federal money. A lot of times you get money through the government agencies for education. It's so convoluted with what you can and can't do with that money that we can't affect change in our local communities. So this is about taking the reins of what we know we need to do here in Catawba County and being able to put that money in the right places at the right times. Work-based learning, that's something that's huge and it's something that I'm passionate about. Prior to coming into this job, I was the CT director for Catawba County Schools. And 4 years, we grew from 180 students every year in internships to 735 students in internships. And 300 businesses in our county hosted that. I really believe that we could triple that number. And this is the one thing that I have seen to have the biggest impact on students, is connecting them. My son is a great, I say this all the time, he's a great example. When he was in school, he was smart just like his sisters, but he saw no need for school. It was a waste of his time. It wasn't relevant.
That was me.
So I got him into an apprenticeship, and he actually did the apprenticeship starting his junior year, and he loved welding. He loved maintenance work, and he started that and said, that's what I'm going to be. And he did that for 3 years while getting his associate's degree through the college, and the company was paying for it. He come home every day greasy and dirty, and he understood that welding involved designing, and he got into designing. And when he finished the program and graduated, he actually had another company that, as a military contractor, offered him another internship locally here in the county. And now he is going to be a mechanical engineer. He's dressing up like me and going to work. I make fun of him every day because he used to make fun of me every day. But if I would have sent him out of school and into college with telling him he's going to be an engineer from day one, he would have made it 6 months because there was no context, there was no relevance to what that degree meant or what it meant to him. Now it's his choice. He came in and said, I'm going to do this. I'm like, okay, if you want to. So it's a big thing. It makes a huge difference on our kids. It has a huge impact on them in our communities. And I'm passionate about this. I didn't say this. I used to say this in the beginning, but I'm a 6th generation Catawba County person. I've got 3 kids, 21, 22, and 23 and a half. They're 16 months apart. And I want to get somebody off my payroll someday. So I want to make sure we have jobs that I can put them to work in so they can keep me up someday. And I want this to be a good place to live because I have no plans of ever leaving Catawba County. And if we want to make sure that it's a great community, then we have to make sure that we have a sustainable economy. So this is what this is about. And we want to say, Future Ready goes to career adaptability. It's making sure that adults can go back and reinvent themselves at any time. Because in the economy that we're in, jobs change, opportunities change quickly. So we want to make sure that no matter what your age, between kindergarten and 64, there's always an opportunity to come back to education and get a skill to allow you to change careers. And these are just a few things in Wonder World Technology. These are actually pictures of our real students in each one of these things. Our teachers doing the training. It's really been great, and the collaboration's been unreal. Work-based learning students, the hospital, employer engagement. This is just a picture we had there, but we have a ton of employees that are employers that are working with us in a lot of different ways. So this is the Construction Academy. We've helped launch that. We've helped finance the marketing to get that off the ground. We have a ton of construction companies here in Cobb County that need workers, so we're trying to help them find that. So anything that we need in Catawba County related to training and education and just economic development, that's what we're here to do. And I'm going to let Ryan take over here and tell you a little bit about why it matters to each one of these groups.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning as well. And one of the main reasons that I joined the K64 team is I am really under the belief that we have to work together as a community to help our students be successful and find careers that they can be passionate about. I've never believed in something as strongly as I believe in what we're doing with K64. And if you look at our 6 guiding priorities, each of those things matters to someone in our community in some way. And one of the main reasons that I feel like it matters to educators, when we look at Wonder World Technology and we're looking at putting devices in students' hands, and as Mark touched on, that creates access and equity. One of the things that we've already done is we've written a grant, and this coming year we're going to be piloting the use of some internet hotspots throughout the community in some of our schools that have high poverty. And what we believe will happen with that is the students will be able to check these hotspots out from their library, take them home, and then they can complete homework assignments, they can do research at home, they'll be able to do a lot of activities that they would not have been able to do otherwise. I've been going out and doing interviews with stakeholder groups throughout our community across the county, and I've been talking to parents and students and teachers and principals, and there was a lady that when I met recently at Murray Elementary School, and she shared how difficult it was for her because she had to go to buy a phone, she had to pay that monthly rate to be able to get some internet access, and then on top of that they would drive to areas where there was free internet access. So they might sit in a parking lot somewhere and allow her child to be able to do that same assignment that another student who has support and has means can just do on their own when they get home in the afternoon because they have that device sitting there. So we're trying to make connections and find solutions to the problems that are being identified. I think one of the other things in terms of educators that Mark touched on, when you create an environment where every single student has a device, that takes a different mindset in terms of instructional design. So when I'm trying to create a lesson for a group of students and they all have a device, that's a different way of teaching. And you have to come up with activities that are very different than what they were trained to do going through college. So the professional development piece that we've provided already for the teachers this past summer, I can tell you from personal experience, I went to visit 2 different schools in the same school system this year, and I went to the first one I went to, they didn't have the devices, and this was a high school, and I was able to see that learning environment. And then I literally got in the car and went to the middle school where they all had devices, and it was amazing to me the difference in the engagement of the students. And they were still talking. Like there was so much conversation happening even with all these devices because what they were doing, the activities were different. They were researching together. one of them, while one was researching, the other one was creating a presentation that they were going to do. And then at the end of the lesson, they were going to get up and present to their peers the solution that they had come up with to that problem. So that's a different type of learning environment that gets created. So I think we're providing a lot of support for our educators. Why it matters to employers is I really believe as we go around and we talk to people that they're wanting soft skills, they're wanting kids that can work in teams, that have good work ethic, that show up to work on time. And as we create these opportunities for apprenticeships, for internships, for the mentoring to happen, you surround a kid with a support system, you're increasing the likelihood that they can succeed later on. We've been designing, since I started back in August, a work-based learning course at CCC that we're going to offer in the spring. That work-based learning course is half soft skills, so we're meeting the needs of the local employers, and then the other half of it is 32 hours of business contact. So we're going to be putting the students out in our local businesses working with employers. And what I've been telling business leaders as I've gone around, and many of you, this could work for you, I would use this work-based learning course as a way to determine students that could become potential employees for me one day. Because you're committing 32 hours to working with a student. And if Mark comes into my business and he shows up on time, he acts in a professional manner, he's got good manners, he dresses appropriately, well, he's someone that I might want to connect with to bring back later to do an apprenticeship or an internship. So we feel like this course will be a really good way to connect students to local potential jobs here in our community. Why it matters to students, Mark touched on this, it creates relevancy. Our kids, you know this, they're different. My little daughter, Riley, the other night we were at home, we were sitting on the bed, and she said, "Daddy, can I talk to grandmother?" I said, "Sure, Riley." Well, the next thing I know, she picks up the iPad, she sends a text to grandmother, takes a picture of herself, a selfie, puts it on the text so that grandmother knows it's her that's trying to text back and forth with her, and not just me or her mom. And then they do FaceTime back and forth. And this is a 6-year-old. So Riley, you know, when Riley gets ready to go through elementary school and into middle school and into high school, she's walking in the door every day at school having these experiences, and she knows how to do it. If I said, "Riley, I want you to try to put together some sort of little presentation with a bunch of pictures," she could go on there right now and put this together for you all. And so we've got these kids that are walking through the door with just a different type of skill set and different type of knowledge. And then how do you meet their needs? And I think that K64 is one way to do that. The other thing about why K64 matters, I mentioned this earlier, is we're really working hard to meet the needs of our community. And when we're out and we hear a problem that's posed, or we hear someone say, "I could really use this," we turn around and we try to problem solve and we come up with initiatives. Mark mentioned when he was talking a little bit ago about Boy Scouts. Like yesterday, they're wanting to do a program, and we've worked with them. We're working on creating a partnership to make that happen. So as you all talk as a group, and I'm going to be joining the group, one of the 2 ways that I really think that Rotary clubs could help, we're working to create a mentoring network called K64 Catawba County Cares Mentoring Network. And I spoke to another Rotary club recently about this, and we're trying to work to create mentors that can work directly with the students. It could look like a club adopting a school. It could look like each individual, based on your time demands, we could connect you with students. You could go in during your lunch break and do lunch buddies. I'm sure you've heard of that concept. It could look like maybe you're not able to go directly to the school, but we could set it up to where you can mentor through the use of FaceTime or something like that. So that would be a great way to connect. I'm working with Mr. Hunt in the Office of Multicultural Affairs at CDCC, and we're creating a student leadership program right now that will target juniors in high school, and then they'll stay in the program into their senior year. But we're going to try to match up each of these high school juniors with a community mentor. So these are high school kids. So depending on what your comfort level is or what your preference is, if you would prefer to work with an older age student, we can make that happen for you. If you prefer to work with little kids in elementary school and enjoy getting a hug every time you walk in the door, we could make that happen for you too. But this is really about creating partnerships and connecting people. And every day we go around making that happen. But just excited about the future and what's happening. The business community is really behind us. One other thing I didn't mention about that course, that work-based learning course, is we've been going out and interviewing business leaders and recording these interviews, and they're going to be embedded into that course. So the students are going to know firsthand what's needed to work at Greystone, what's needed to work at MDI. Those are just two of the interviews that we've already done. But I could see many of you being a mentor in some capacity, or your business connecting with K64 and us figuring out how to expand what's currently happening. Okay? But I'm just like Mark. I want Riley and Rebecca to ultimately live here, and be able to access great jobs.
Any questions?
I worked for the Catawba County Chamber of Commerce from 1999 to 2004. So I was there when I first joined the organization there. The EDC, the Economic Development Corporation, had trouble recruiting companies to come here because unemployment was so low, potential companies weren't confident that they could get workers. So I was also there while furniture pretty much shipped away from, furniture manufacturing shipped away from Catawba County. Hosiery had already gone, and furniture went, and we went from that situation to pretty high unemployment just in a few years. And I remember Employment Security Commission fellow coming and talking to us and saying, we estimate, and you know, I'd love to tell you what the year was, but I think it was about now, that things are going to flip over, and we're going to have aging population to the point to where we're going to have trouble having enough employable people in the county to meet up with the jobs. And voila, here I am, and you all showed the slide, and it's like, it's deja vu all over again here for me. So yeah, I see it coming to pass, and I appreciate the difficulty in having trained workers. As you may or may not know, our club provides some funding for students at CBCC through the scholarship program. And I hear you talking about the need for funding, dollar matching sort of thing and so on. Forgive me for getting on my soapbox for just a moment, but our education boondoggle lottery that we have in the state scoops up lots of money from people and puts it into God knows where it goes. Is there any chance that the lottery, some of the money could be diverted from whatever the heck it's doing into programs like this? Do you have any avenue for funding from lottery proceeds, or is it so locked down into what it's doing that we have no hope for that?
It's mostly locked down. It's really tied into some of the property tax rates, where in Catawba County we have situations where we're not even accessible to a lot of that money based on our property tax. And this is primarily why we have K64. I've been to Washington, I've talked to all the senators and all the congressmen, I've spent 2 different days with the governor. These people have this broad idea about how they think they can fix things. And everyone wants to sit and bicker about who gets the dollars. And Catawba County, we just don't have time for that. We don't have time to wait on that. If they want to help us, come help us. But by gosh, we're going to fix this ourselves. We can. We've always been a citizenry of makers. We've always solved our own problems. Well, we've come through the furniture crisis, out on the other side. We're going to be okay. And I think we know better than anyone else what we need in Catawba County. And we can't wait for people in Washington or people in Raleigh to solve our problems, because they don't know what we need and they don't know what we have to offer. And that's what's going to make us different. And already, I've had to go to Los Angeles, I've had to go to Texas, I've had to go all over our state. They're like, wow, what's going on over there in Catawba County? We've never seen people get together to solve problems like this locally. We've never seen such collaboration as K64. They're even talking about potentially making us a model to spread all over North Carolina and possibly the United States. And you know what? Whatever. You know, we're here to solve our problems. That's why we're raising this money, and we're doing this locally. So we don't have to say, you know, we'll get $1 here and $1 there if we're matching this tax rate, or if we do this, or if we do that, or if we fence in our highways, we'll give you some dollars. I mean, it's always something. And I started complaining about this a long time ago when I got in education. The bulk of my career has not been in education, it's been in business. And in business, you got to do things to put food on the table. You got to be able to make sales, and you got to be able to work and feed the family. And when you deal with government and education, there's never a profit motive. I can't understand why they don't understand that our primary goal is to give our students opportunity and to educate. There's always some kind of ulterior motive tied to money and government and everything that I see. My philosophy when I got into education was that, am I breaking a law, am I helping the student? And I don't really care about all the other stuff that's put it away. So that's what K64 is about. We're going to raise our money, we're going to do what we need to do, whatever. You know, that's just how we look at it.
If only we had somebody in Raleigh who cared about education.
So
We're trying.
So then what I hear from you, I think, and you can validate this, is we're more valuable to you as resources, as individuals, like in mentoring or in other places where we can touch people, rather than us writing you a check. Is that what
We'll
I
take both.
You'll
take both.
Yeah, I understand that.
Because you make the county commissioners give me $1 every time you give me $1, so that's always a plus. That's a guaranteed no that some of your tax money is going to go into something that matters. And the reason this is money that wasn't invented somewhere. This is money that was set aside a long time ago under tax that was designed to pay for new school buildings, to build new buildings, not just remodel buildings, but this is to build new buildings. The problem we have is we have the declining population in the schools, and we just don't need new buildings. We actually need less buildings because the enrollment in the whole Catawba County K-12 is much smaller than it was even 5 years ago. So we're trying to stop that. Part of that is population, part of that's not they're leaving, part of it's just the fact that people are having less kids. But the commissioners had this money, and they said, okay, we want to affect change, and we don't need to build brand new buildings, so let's see what we can do. Let's come up with something here that can make us money. But yeah, we'll take anything you have to offer.
Just to add to that, some other ways that I think that local folks could help is if you'd be willing to host an intern, potentially do an apprenticeship, and we're trying to expand what that concept is in people's minds. The idea that any field that we have in the county, could someone do an internship in that if a student is interested, in trying to make those connections. One other thing that I've observed just personally, this is the first time since I entered education where I have seen on a regular basis all three school systems in our county coming together on a regular basis to share ideas, to solve problems together. Like on Thursday of this week, I'm meeting with all three of the student services directors from the three school systems. And we're talking about character education programs and how we can help our kids develop soft skills. The other thing that we're working together to do a lot now is partner to apply for grants. And we've got many of those that are in the works right now. So the whole community is really working together. The other thing about funding is you can rest assured that if a group provides some funding to K64, those dollars will stay in Catawba County and will directly impact the students that are here and the programs that we're able to provide. Also, if you fund through K64, the other thing that we work really hard to do is make sure that those funds are distributed out in an equitable manner to all three school systems. So no matter where you live in the county, you'll feel some impact from what we're doing.
Has it been considered to unify the school districts as to?
We're stepping on toes.
Yeah.
No,
We need a whole nother
no,
group.
it's time, it's time for us to stop playing that, money, most money allocated to places with most money. We are coming up with this K-64, and it's supposed to help everybody. The need for K-64, as far as I can tell, with employers needing, employees, was created by employers themselves who decided to go overseas to get cheaper labor and found out that you can build a chair overseas cheaper, but you can't repair it cheaper, okay? And you cannot stop the problems that happen when you ship a product back here over salt water, okay? And so they created the problem, then they came back to this area wanting employees, and they had been gone. So all the people who were in those fields said, why should I stay in this field? I go to something else. Did not the employer create the problem? Now it's time for us to, as you said, be smart about the money. Why can't we unify like Charlotte Mecklenburg? They have 25,000 students. We're only 25,000. We're only what, the 3 school system here, 24,000 students? You know, we got 3 superintendents. You know, so
Donald, you
we're
would
gonna get
lose
together.
money.
Huh?
You would lose money if you did that.
But we've been
I've been
talking
there,
about
and I know what I'm talking about.
That may be so, but if we're talking about all being on the same page and moving through equitably, then why we...
We've been on the same page for years. This is a totally different argument,
Really?
but we have been. If we hadn't been, there would have been a move to unify the 3 districts many, many years ago.
Why
We
is
would
that?
lose money in Catawba County if we did that.
Yes, I can tell you
What
a
about
little
the
bit about that.
kids? What about
That's
the
different.
kids?
Let's talk about that another time.
We had 3 superintendents, okay, we had 3 superintendents making more than the superintendent in Charlotte. And every superintendent has an assistant of 5,
No, they don't.
okay? Well, I'm just saying, I've been looking at this too for a long time.
I've been looking at it too.
You might have.
I've been looking at it
He's
from the
been living
inside,
it.
not the outside.
But
And I
I'm
know
looking at it from the
exactly what
kids'
the
point of
money is,
view.
and I know
And I'm
exactly
looking
what
at
we
the
would
kids are
lose.
not getting served.
Yes, they are.
Can I,
Really?
The children are getting served.
Really?
Yes.
I don't see it.
Can I,
Why are they still coming to class with
Okay,
connected for school supplies?
All right, let's call order.
Okay,
Let's call it
let me
order.
say a little bit
I
about
have
that.
changed the agenda here, please. We're using money for scholarships. And why can't we take a lump sum, we cleared about $3,000 on the dance. Take a portion of the money and give it to K-64, which is being matched by more incentive, maybe a change in the program. It's something to think about, and I would present this to the club to consider.
Yeah, that's a
That
club
we
matter.
use some of the scholarship money, give it there, and let it be used to get more bang for the bucks.
I'll second this.
Let's take it up in the business meeting.
That's,
We will.
we have to take that up in the business meeting.
Yes.
We agreed that we would not have that discussion with the company president.
We understand that, but I want you to think about it until we meet again.
As a future Rotarian, are you aware that there is a character building curriculum predicated on the 4-way test? And there's a brochure pamphlet. Didn't one set us go out to one school in Southwest, get them?
If they did this year, I don't know.
Yeah, there are resources available within the system for character building. When you get around to it, we'll look at it together.
We do have a great partnership, and we do have a great connectivity between the 3 systems now. I meet with the superintendents personally once a month. We sit down in a room and work through a lot of the issues and come to agreement on everything. And they understand that it's all the same. It's all for one and one for all on everything we do. And it's really been very impactful. And that's the reason why we're trying to fix some of these issues. The students need equal access. The funding is reduced every single year by the state. We have a lot of outside pressure now for funding being diverted to charter schools. So it makes a big difference. And right now, you are correct. The funding model, we actually do get more money in the county like we are at the moment. If they do change that to a per pupil straight up funding model, then it'll be different. And there's talk about that in legislation. But right now, what we're doing works. Another advantage that gives us on the 3 systems that we have now that we are finding already is a big thing. If you heard about school choice, you hear that all over the state. about the new school choice, so there's lots of different charter schools and private schools. We found that with our 3 systems now, we have a unique situation where we have school choice built into what we're doing. We have the opportunity for students to be able to pick and choose, and the superintendents are working well together to not try to steal and compete and take students intentionally. So it's the best environment I've ever seen, and I've been in education more than 10 years.
We have some members there who have kids in parochial private school. Do they have access to this program too?
They have access to a lot of things that we're doing. Now, I can't put dollars into the private school because that's taxpayer dollars. That's collected for public education. However, if it's some kind of a program working with CCP or work-based learning or the college that we can go out and help those schools, then by all means they can participate, and we are going out.
I mean, as a student in one of those schools, can I get into an internship?
Yes, yes, that's not anything, that doesn't cost us money to get you into an internship. So we are absolutely working with those schools to help them.
You just made me think of something. Because now kids in homeschool and charter schools are tapping into public school.
Mm-hmm.
And like public schools are having to give part of their dollars to those charter entities and homeschool entities. What's the chance that through either a court case or legislation, probably more likely legislation, that the K-64 money would have to be opened up to those charter entities and homeschool children, et cetera, et cetera? Because they have gone to court and said, okay, my kid's a homeschool kid, but I want it to play in the band at St. Stephen's, or I want it to play basketball at Hickory.
That's,
And they get to do that, and they get to have that access.
That's
So-
another thing we thought through legally.
Okay, good.
So all of the money that the county commissioners give us, and all the money that I collect, it doesn't go into CVCC, it goes into the CVCC Foundation, which is a 501c3.
So it's protected
Which
through
is
the.
protected from all of the state jurisdictions, and they can't come in and tell us anything we can do with that money. Another reason that we did it through the CVCC Foundation.
Okay.
That way they can't touch it.
Because I know that even PTAs are somewhat
Yeah,
subject.
I've heard, I mean, my wife's principal, and I was in the K-12 world for 10 years, and I see that. I actually, as a CT director, I had to send $11,000 to Charlotte to a career technical school that was opened up by a foreign country, and they stayed the first 10 days, and day 11, they had a "we're gone" sign outside, and those kids had nowhere to go to school. And what that means is, in these charter schools, these new entities, if they can keep the students the first 10 days of school, they keep all the money. And if those kids have to come back to us, we don't get the money back. State law, you get them for 10 days, you keep the dollar. So that's their incentive.
Our older school program was faced with the same problem. Wasn't it, boss?
Mark, so is this the only K-64 program in the country?
Yep.
Basically? And those companies you had listed up there way back that support you, a lot of those look like they were German companies, are they? Or they were?
A lot of them are. We have a lot of contributors. You know, we've got the hospitals, we've got MBI, SureTape, Corning, CommScope, but we have a lot of German companies. We have a lot of them in this area. People may not know this, but we're the 9th largest manufacturing metro in the United States now. Furniture's big, but it's not the biggest in terms of overall manufacturing. And we have the largest concentration of German companies in the whole United States as well here in the MSA of Cobb County.
And you purposefully leveraged your board for the K-64 program with business leaders, with a lot of business leaders in the area.
Exactly.
Already.
We have the head of HR globally for CommScope. We have Larry Aiello, which is the former CEO of all of Corning. We have SureTape, Stephen Shuford, Kimberly George of MDI, who's from the family that owns the company. We have people that are serious. I mean, they're serious about making sure that this is a great community. And they're willing to do anything for us, which is amazing.
One last thing that I would just add is, as a former principal and now being able to do this role, and I've been out to see all the businesses that are available, not all of them, but a lot of them, and I had no idea the opportunities that are available in Catawba County for kids, and what you can do here and have a great life. And I think a lot of what we're trying to do too is increase the awareness among the students about those opportunities, and that you don't have to leave Catawba County, as Mark was talking about, to be an engineer. That there's so many great jobs right here. And I think it's just simply about making connections between the students, what they're passionate about, and local jobs that are available here.
Okay, anybody else has any comments?
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Ryan, you've been here before, we want to say thank you. But this young man's just a little bit new. Okay, Brother Mark, we want to present you with a genuine
Manufactured in Catawba County.
Right in Catawba County. With Catawba County wood gotten from elsewhere.
I'm gonna say made in China.
No, made by our own Wayne Honeycutt over here.
All right.
You see that? Hickory, North Carolina, Old Hickory Woodworks, by Mr. Honeycutt himself,
Well, I appreciate that.
with a rubber from India.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Cork from
Thank you.
Malaysia.
Cork from Malaysia, there, and the rubber from India. Thank you.
May I make an announcement on the lighter side,
Go ahead.
not related to Rotary? In item L, we have purchased 2,000 pieces of candy where I live. We will run out up the street. They've gone to 3,000 pieces with trick-or-treaters. Now, one lady coming down 6th Street last night was so enthralled with my neighbor's cat, big inflatable cat right across my yard, hit a telephone pole right there. So if you have nothing to do tonight, I just say that you can come by and just ride by and see what's going
Come
on.
get the cat, okay?
Go ahead.
Next week, Steve, he's gone?
He had to leave. He had to leave, yeah. Got an
I'll put it
appointment.
in my notes. He is scheduled to do we have a club assembly next week. Steve is scheduled to do an orientation, Rotary orientation. So Roger and Ryan, if you're able to come next week, it would be a good meeting for you to come to.
And Mark, come back.
Yes,
Appreciate you having me.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of the things we
Think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And will it be fun?
Come on, Ding.